So, do you ever have a conversation with someone and you kind of feel like you're not on the same wavelength? You're saying one thing and they're hearing another thing. A lot of the time, people have this issue with communication because they just look at the surface level. They just look at what's being said verbally. They don't look at the non-verbal communication. For example, what we're going to talk about today, body language. And the reason for this is because most people are just kind of focused on their own train of thought and what they're thinking, what they want to communicate. And to try and learn body language, you really have to improve your emotional intelligence, not just intellectual intelligence. And what we can do with this is try and observe how the person is sitting, what their posture is, what facial expressions they have, how they react to certain things you say, or how they don't react to certain things you say. There's a whole science behind it, which you could read 100 books, but we'll just go over the interesting bits today, I think. So, for example, there's a myth that if you look up and to the left or look up and to the right, you're lying. And in reality, that's just you trying to process things. You're just trying to, your brain is just trying to get the correct information and file it away in the correct place or retrieve information. And this takes a bit of energy, takes a bit of focus. Another example is regardless of how you're smiling, if the corners of your lips curl up, that's more of a positive and enthusiastic sign. Whereas if they're curled down, even if you're smiling, it's going to be seen as a very negative or disinterested way to communicate. Another thing with body language, like people always misread, they make assumptions because they just listen to the words. So if you take how a person looks as well, for example, are they well groomed? What style of clothes are they wearing? Is their hair clean? Do they have red eyes from not getting enough sleep? That tells you a big story before you even say the first word. Now, with non-verbal communication, it's not just about one specific thing that happens or one tell. You've kind of got to look at the bigger picture. You've got to look at everything at the same time to try and discern the information you're looking for. And you've got to know what you're looking for and how to react when you do find it. I think the best way to put it is body language is context, not definitive signs. But the good news is it's a skill you can improve. It's something you can work on. It's not something you're born with naturally. You learn body language over time. There is a little bit of instinctiveness, but you take cultures, for example. Different cultures use different body language to express different things. The stereotype of Italians always using their hands to communicate and discuss kind of emphasizes the point of certain things. Or you take the story, and I don't know if this is a myth or if it's true, but the story of certain regions in India. Normally a nod is seen as positive and a shake of the head is negative, but it's the opposite in these regions. This is positive and that's seen as negative, as I know. Another thing you've got to think about is posture. Are they hunched over? Are they listening? Are they leaning in? Or are they just relaxed and leaning back? And you kind of got to look at is the posture open or closed? If the body language is more open, friendly, they're willing to communicate and they want to be more receptive to having a conversation with you. But if they've got their arms crossed, for example, or they're kind of hunched over or they're not making eye contact, then maybe at this point they don't want to have a conversation, they don't want to engage. So do you give them space, or do you try and communicate in a different way? It's up to you. But understanding what their vibe is, what their feeling is always a good start. Just gonna sell some fish here. So I think the 5 main things you've got to look for when trying to read body language is the face, the eyes, the posture, the gestures, and the movement as well. You take the hand gestures, for example. Sometimes with scuba divers, a thumbs up is like, take me up for more oxygen. It doesn't mean positive. And then some scuba divers, they use the OK symbol to say, I have enough oxygen, things are going well. But that same gesture, if you go to some places in South America, can be seen as an offensive hand gesture. So you've got to really understand the context before you make any mistakes. Now, in the textbooks, they say the reason we have non-verbal communication, or some of the multiple reasons are, the first one is you can earn trust if you like mirror what the person is doing. If you're on the same level, on the same vibe, you can use it to emphasize a point, like the Italian example I used earlier. You can use it to kind of reveal truth. If it's intentional or unintentional, this is what happens. Sometimes if you look at police or military interrogations, a lot of the body language is taken into account. Not just what the person says for the confession, it's trying to fly them into a more talkative state. That's how they get people to talk. Through positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement. For example, if you try and be the good cop, bad cop buys you a can of juice, and the bad cop makes sure the AC is high and kind of leans the pressure on a bit more. That way you naturally feel more friendly with the good cop and you're more likely to disclose information. But let's run a little experiment. If you're still watching this, first thing I'd like you to do is try and look up an interview after watching this video. And if you watch some of these Hollywood celebrities, don't just listen to the story they're telling, but watch the hand movements, watch the way they're sitting. Are they facing the host? Are they facing the audience? And you can pick the good ones from the bad ones. Like, people get trained in how to hold an interview. Like, media training is a very important thing when you become a celebrity. There's another thing that's quite important is personal space as well. That can be cultural. If you go to Northern Europe, for example, your Holland's and Sweden's, they have a very bigger personal space, so they don't feel comfortable if they don't know you and you get too close to them. Whereas if you go to a more crowded country, take China for example, the size of the personal space is a lot smaller, so if they're kind of physically closer to you, they don't mind as much. But of course, it's different from person to person. We're just talking generally in cultures here. If you're still watching this, at the moment the channel is quite small, and I would appreciate if you subscribe or give me a thumbs up. I know it's a cliche for YouTubers to do these sort of things, but it does genuinely help. And I'm enjoying making these relaxing psychology videos. And if you guys leave some comments, it'll be motivating me to make more. And hopefully you can learn something or at least get some rest. Now, before we wrap this up, I think the next video is probably going to be about habits. So if that's something that catches your eye, if it's something you're interested in, like learning good habits or avoiding bad habits, then definitely make sure to subscribe. Don't know if he's going to like this, but I'm going to try and give him some seaweed as a present. Not do any harm, right? I think we should wrap up around here, but see you guys in the next one. Hanging around, you can just watch me move the character, eventually get back to the house and rest up for the day. It's a good thing about Stardew Valley, it kind of incentivizes you to chat with everyone because there's a mechanical advantage, it's not just socializing thing. You want to try and progress the stories, even if it's just 1 or 2 lines. The fact that there is progression is a good game mechanic. And see you guys in the next one. Bye.